Hi, and thanks so much for joining me. Today we were talking about these brand new products by Charlotte Tilbury. If you'd like to see that, please keep watching. As you know, I'm a huge fan of Charlotte Tilbury makeup. I have a lot of Charlotte Tilbury makeup, so I was happy to see that there were some new things coming out, especially that there's a palette that's all mattes. So this is the Desert Haze palette. Very nice, warm, peachy brown hues. And then I also picked up this Airbrush bronzer, which is so stunning. And I picked mine up in medium. In addition, I also picked up the Airbrush brush that goes with the bronzer. I wanted to see how this and the bronzer worked together. So we'll be trying everything on, eyes and bronzer. So let's go ahead to application. I have everything but eyes and bronzer on right now. Let's go ahead in with eyes first. We will start with shade number 1, this lightest shade right here. By the way, the lipstick that I have on, because that is one thing I always forget to say, I have the Wayne Goss lipstick in Orchid, and I also have the lip gloss in Antique Rose. So I'm gonna go all the way up, just put a base on. My eyes are, I can't figure out what's going on, if I have eczema or something else happening, but it's like I have dry patches on my eyelids. So if you see anything like texture wise, that's what it is, but this will be a nice test. If you do have texture on your eyelids, how this will look. Generally, a matte will look better than a shimmery color. In fact, I put on a shimmery color for my last video and I could see a little bit of texture. So this will be a nice little example of how that looks if you deal with that. But here's the shade. It just evens out my skin tone, plus I have a little redness too. This has some nice warmth to it. I really like that color just to kind of even out the lid. So it's a really great no makeup shade for someone if you are my skin tone. I do have the Charlotte Tilbury in 7W on right now that is mixed with Clé de Peau Radiant Fluid Foundation in 040. I'll put all the information below. 7W though pulls a little warm on me, so that's why I put in the 040. It's got a little bit of coolness to it, plus it's a little bit more of a like lighter weight foundation, so I like the two together. It's a really thin layer of foundation too, and that might help guide you in terms of shades to select for the bronzer and how this eyeshadow will look on you. So we're gonna go in next with this number 8 brush, Ray Morris. It's tapered. We'll go in with this color right here, this beautiful peachy color. I've already used this once because I filmed it yesterday. This is like my life. I film something once, I go to playback, there's something I don't like or something that is off with the lighting, and I end up going in twice. I think I have a video that I'll have done 3 times though that's coming out soon. But we're gonna go in here really lightly. I don't know if you saw how gently I just touch the brush. I feel like I'm barely putting the brush onto my skin here, and it's depositing color really beautifully. So that's what that looks like. Nice, like burnt kind of apricot color. Okay, so this is an amazing brush. This is the 6.5. Ray Morris created for hooded eyes specifically, and it really helps blend this out here. So if you have trouble like I do right here, this is a great one. It just softens that up without having to take a fluffy brush and just swirl and swirl and swirl. You just can place it on here and it quickly softens that. So I love this brush. Yeah, creases are hard for me just because of my eye shape. So those of you who have a similar eye shape know what I'm talking about. It just really gets really difficult once you start adding color there. This brush helps a lot. Really soft. I just want kind of like a watercolor effect here. So if you see any uneven application, it's because there are dry patches that it might be catching on. So right there, yeah, there's some dry skin right there. So usually I have quite smooth eyelids, but not today. Hopefully it goes away soon, but there's that. Now we're going to go in with this third color, this one right here. It's like a browner, deeper tone compared to the one I just went in with. We're going to place it more towards the outer V here. Yeah, less is more with this. If you want to build this up, you can, but really you get a lot of color really quickly. So I'm just going in really lightly. I can barely feel the brush on my eye area, so that's how light it is. Yeah, dry skin here too. Just following this line up like this. That guides my eyeliner as well. And I'm starting about this halfway and then going up. So I try to keep color away from like this part in. Okay, now we're gonna go in with this. It's the deepest shade. I'm going to take this brush, it's the 17, and I'm going to just push that color into the lash line and use it as an eyeliner. Just at the base of the lashes. And I just have to slightly touch. It's not like I'm having to work really hard to get this color in there. That's what it looks like if you use that color as a liner. I'm gonna go right down below here as well. I am going to take that because it's right along the lash line, but it tickles my eyes. Okay, next thing we're going to do is take this pencil brush. It's the 9.1, and I'm going to take that deepest color again. This one, and we're going to go in the outer V. Take that up, make like a slight, very slight flick here. You can see how intense that is. I mean, it's as intense as some eyeliners are. That's what I like about this brush too, is that you can make like a little, very gentle wing, kind of muted. I don't typically wear a graphic winged liner anyway. It doesn't work on me. I can't pull it off. So I like my eyeliner to be a little bit blended in. We may intensify that in a little bit, but I'm going to go in with the Rock and Coal Barbarella Brown and Tightline with that. And I really like to get that in this area right here. It gives my eyes more of an almond shape to get in there. So I like to tightline up till here, and then at this point, then I'll start going above the lash line. It just works better for my eye shape. Down here, I have some redness. So I do want to go over this line right here, my waterline, but I don't want to go really deep with that, not too dark. If I had a flesh toned one that worked for me, which I still really can't find, that would be great. But I'm going to go in with this Chanel, and I've talked about this endlessly since I got it. It's the one in matte taupe. It's a really soft brown. So it doesn't stand out too much, but you can just get a little definition. I would be tempted, if I wasn't doing this in real life, to go in with something shimmery, but I don't want to distract too much from the matte look here because of the palette being so matte. But I would go in with something like, and I'll put some swatches here, La Mercier Copper, the Caviar Stick eyeshadow that I love so much. I would also consider going with the Victoria Beckham eyeliner. Like a khaki green goes really well with this, and it's in the shade Bronze. I also might look at the Charlotte Tilbury in Mesmerizing Maroon Metallic. That might be pretty, and then I think there's a copper one. I don't have that one, but that might also look really nice. And then I do want to just really close to the lash line here, kind of just mirror that wing I did underneath, just to make it a little bit more intense, but not towards the edges too much, more towards the lash line. So I don't know if you can see, it's really subtle, but I just like to deepen it just a little bit more. If I use a liquid liner, I'll just kind of lay it on my lash line and not go too far away from my lash line, and kind of do the same thing and just get something more faded out, something more soft towards the end here when it comes to like anything winged. See, this is the only thing with these brushes, they stick together. Yeah, so if I put them back where they belong, that would help. But I'm going to take this one again, the 9.1 in the deepest color here. I'm just going to intensify the corner. Now, once I put on mascara, I'll get a really good idea of what this looks like, and I may go in and just fix it a little bit more. But mascara makes a huge difference. I am going to go in with a non-Charlotte Tilbury mascara and then a Charlotte Tilbury mascara. So I love the Givenchy Phenomenize, I think is the one it's called, the waterproof one, to set the shape of my eyelashes. And then I'll go over it with the Charlotte Tilbury full fat lashes just to add a little bit more volume. But yeah, and of course I start with the Dior Show 3D Maximizer Primer. But before I put mascara, I just want to show you what it looks like without mascara. And I just intensified a little bit more with these two shades right here, just really slightly up here in the outer corner. Now we get to go in with the fun part. This is the most fun for me. I love bronzer, and I was so impressed with the size of this bronzer. I don't have any of those really large bronzers that other companies have that I've seen before. So this is the largest bronzer I've ever had, and I love the appearance of this. It's like a work of art. The hardware on my vanity actually is this color, so as soon as I clean off my vanity, this will be a beautiful piece just to have on top. So one day we'll get there. We have to actually do that video at some point, but when I opened this, I was surprised at how large the actual bronzer is, so it's not taken up by the packaging itself. So I did swatch here though, because I was curious to see the difference between this and the deep powder, the Airbrush Flawless Finish powder. I've used that as a bronzer before because of your suggestion. One of you mentioned you did that, and I tried and I really liked it, but then I was actually about to buy that powder, but then these were announced, so then I thought, let me just wait. One of the reasons I picked this one is because it looked nice and golden, and the one next to this tan looked like it had a little bit of red, at least online. It's really hard to pick colors online, so I hope this helps you a little bit if you're the same shade as me, or if you're a little bit deeper or lighter, because I think I've got some valuable information about what to choose, especially if you're a little bit deeper. So I'm going to swatch for you this bronzer next to the powder, number 3, the deepest shade, and then also Goa by Chantecaille, so you can see the comparison, and also Guerlain, the trio, the bronzing trio in deep. In case you have any of those, you can kind of get a reference on this. So I saw some people use, actually I saw one of the lovely, I think it's one of Charlotte Tilbury's nieces maybe, who did a video, but I saw someone use this bronzer and they had 7N, and then they picked tan, and then I thought, oh no, I didn't pick tan, I picked medium, and then I was worried this was going to be too light. So let's take a look though, because I tend to go overboard with bronzer. I know that. I love bronzer, and I will just continue to apply it until sometimes it looks like too much. So this might be better for me because it doesn't apply too much. So I'm just going to swirl it on here so you can see the difference. So there it is on versus no bronzer. Bronzer, no bronzer. So I like that it's more golden. I like that it's not so deep, because I'm going to see how much I can build this up really. But I feel like if you are any deeper than me, this might just be a powder for you. It is very close to that deep shade in their powder as well. Reference-wise, I wish now I had picked up the tan just to show you the difference. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention though is that this is replaceable, so you don't have to discard the beautiful packaging. You would just discard the inside when you're done, and then I might go and buy the deeper color, tan, to replace it once summer comes around, so that's kind of nice. I really appreciate that about the packaging too. You can see I am just adding more and more, so we'll get to see what this looks like. This is typically what I do with bronzer anyway, just because I love it. This brush, by the way, I forgot to mention, this is the brush, the Airbrush, and it comes with a lid. See, I'm so bad about like actually talking about the products. I just like to use the products and I forget to actually talk about them. But it has the CT on the top, same color. They look really beautiful together. But this brush is really very soft. So it feels nice to just apply the bronzer. So I can also see myself going overboard with bronzer, just because if you like the feeling of a makeup brush on your face, you're gonna love this one. Yeah, it just is very soft. One of the softest brushes I've tried. And then of course on the neck, because I don't like foundation on my neck, so that solves that problem. But I will show you half, because I've really just applied on this side so you can see how pretty it is. But yeah, I'm really curious about the tan one now. Get it into the hairline, as always. And then my forehead has discoloration, so if I can get that a little bit more tan, plus my forehead is more tan. Oh yeah, I think you can see. You can see the difference. Yeah, it's really pretty. And you can see how it just fades into the rest of the skin. So you can't really see the definition between where you have bronzer and where it starts to taper off. And I think this brush has a lot to do with it. So this fills in a void for me in terms of like a bigger, fluffier brush. So we'll do half. So this side has bronzer. This side does not have bronzer. So I think you can see a difference, right? Yeah, I'm afraid the other one would be too red for me. I just really like a golden bronze color, which makes me think I want to pick up the other Chantecaille bronzer because that is more golden than Goa. I love bronzer because it's so transformative, but it's subtle. Like, this is a subtle bronzer. Of course, you can make it more dramatic if you go in with a deeper shade, but if you're like me and you kind of want it just, you know, to be more natural, then I would go with this shade versus the tan. But if you wanted something more dramatic, I think tan would be really beautiful. It just is your preference. I definitely have to add more though. If I had tan, I would not be applying this much. The other thing I saw them do was to add it right here, like as if the sun was hitting you. And I love that look, but I also have concealer. So I always worry about wiping that away on accident. So I'm just, since this is so light though, I think I might be able to do it. So I'm going to go in right here and just like dot it on and then sweep it out. So that's one side. I have to be careful too because I do have that discoloration underneath and I don't want to deepen it too much. Yeah, I just made a boo-boo and lifted up a little bit of concealer, so just be careful. Yeah, maybe a fan brush would have been better for me to do that with, just across the top next time. But at least you can see what that looks like. My thoughts on these are, I love that this is matte. I have so many shimmery palettes. I can't remember the last time I purchased a matte palette. I think there's a Tom Ford, the Coco Mirage, I think that's what it's called, and then a Chanel 268, 862, something, some combination of that. I'll put that below. In terms of all matte, it had like a reddish color in it. But this is something I don't think I realized I was needing, because every time I go in with a shimmery palette, as much as I love them, I'm always looking for some kind of neutral matte shade for transition. So this is a really nice addition. It's a one palette I can pull for. These colors work beautifully with my skin tone. So if you are my skin tone and you are needing mattes, I would look at this one. They're all really beautiful. I would probably use these as solo colors, these three. This one's a little bit deep, but I can see myself using these and then just putting some mascara on for a daily look along with that matte taupe eyeliner. I really like that idea. And then as for this bronzer, it's really beautiful. I think, again, if you are any deeper than me, you're going to need to go with tan simply because this is very, very close to that deep shade in the powder. I think you can see from the swatch how very close it is. It's very close. I would love to know if you picked these up and if you found the right bronzer shade. Let us know. I'd love to know your foundation shade and what shade you picked in the bronzer so that other people who are reading the comments can get a better idea of maybe what to pick. That's been the most difficult thing shopping online, is picking the right color, not being able to play with the items in person. So I think these videos are really helpful. I know I have other friends on YouTube here who will be focusing on this collection as well. Namely, I've been communicating with Michelle Wong, and I know she picked up a couple of different bronzers. So you're going to want to make sure to head over to her channel to see, because she's a little bit lighter than me as well. So that'll give you a nice reference point. So the more people who are posting, the better, I think, to help you figure out really what the best shade is for you. I know it's really tricky. So I personally have purchased some things that I'm not quite sure I picked the right shade. I have no idea. I just tried my very best to look online for resources, so consider this another resource. Oh yeah, and this brush is lovely. So if you were looking for a brush of this size and to apply the bronzer, I don't have a bronzer brush this shape. I have some nice sculpting type brushes by Ray Morris, but nothing like this that really buffs it in. This is a really nice pairing with a bronzer if you were interested in it. I also think brushes are such a beautiful gift if you were looking to gift someone with something, because the brushes that I've received as gifts, I think about the people who gave them to me when I use them every single time. So I think this is a beautiful gift. And that is it for today's video. So please take care of each other, stay well. And if you enjoyed this video, if you learned something, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you next time. Thanks. We're gonna go in with, where is it? I know I had it. Now where is it? Oh goodness, it's here somewhere. Is it hiding? How could I lose a brush? I don't, oh, I'm sitting on it.